Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Monday night, 8 p.m. can mean only one thing. It is the Online Darts Live Lounge, episode 189. We're edging closer to that 200 mark, and we're here for another couple of hours to take you through all things darts. Myself, Phil Bars, Jack Garwood, and Dan Simpson are here to keep you company. Gentlemen, good evening.
All right.
Hello.
How are we all?
Oh, good, yeah.
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Forgot my lights.
All of the lads. There he is.
Oh, look at that. Look at
Some
that.
might say he's already stepped in.
Yeah, it's looking a bit Christmassy, that, mate.
We're going with like this for the rest of the night.
I need to be back in that bottom slot, propping up the show. That's no good, that. It's no good. I need to be propping up things. There we go. That feels a little bit more natural. All is well. It's been a funny old week, hasn't it? We've had lots going on. We had a big tournament. We had a major, you could say.
A TV ranking event.
A TV ranking event. We had a major event go on. We had some seniors qualifiers. It's been a busy old week in darts. It's been plenty to talk about, I think. Yeah,
100%. Let's jump into the chat room first of all. Nicholas is in. I'll star that and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Dell is in. How we doing? Ad is in. Joel, Owen, how we doing? Shelty, Daniel, how we are? Cameron, Kieran, Daryl. Dell's agreeing. He's loving the old Christmas effect there. Evening, Ricky. Hope you are good. Yeah, look, we have had the first incarnation of the PDC Winmau World Masters. First of all, before we dive into the tournament and everything like that, what was your first opinions now we've had it, gents?
Well, before we get into the actual tournament, if you want my general overarching view, like going into it, the stage looked incredible. The trophy is stunning, and the format manifests chaos, which is like, for me, tick, tick, tick. Like, give me a gorgeous stage and a beautiful trophy and a format within which anything is possible. Yet, in the words of the macho man, Randy Savage, cream still rises to the top.
4 minutes in. Can give it a rest with these wrestling shit.
Yes. There we go.
I'm off. I'm retiring. I'm too old for this.
Gob, your initial thoughts?
I really liked it. Look, the format is an agent of chaos. We absolutely know that. We've been a little bit gutted that the BDO/WDF changed their format. That's always been the big criticism of their second major, if you like, that actually they had the longest running tournament in darts and they've mismanaged it and messed it up. So to see it back in this, guys, is brilliant. The trophy is magnificent, and I know it's a replica of the original or as close to it. Hurts a little bit when seniors have something very, very similar for a tournament in the very, very same format. Now there's multiple World Masters trophies that all look very similar, and it's all getting a little bit muddy in the water, if you get what I'm saying. And obviously, there's the infamous John O'Shea trophy. Then obviously now the seniors have got one. Now the PDC have got one. Like, everyone's gonna have a World Masters trophy if we're not careful. But other than that, yeah, I thought it looked really, really good. It's great to see Winmau back in the game in that sense. That led to some comical moments this weekend, I thought, where some players were double sponsored or double manufacturer tagged.
There's got to be somebody somewhere has had a nice little chuck having it that first time when someone came out with a great big fat target logo with the Winmau logo strapped across the top of it.
Well, this is the funny bit, and like you say, it got picked up on social media quite a lot. But now, if you're Winmau, right, I fully appreciate that Luke Littler is a target-sponsored player. However, if you're Winmau and you now ever need to use a Luke Littler picture, you can use one with Winmau on his shirt.
I'll tell you exactly where I'd be cropping that photo as well. On There'll be someone on Photoshop cropping things around.
It is for Winmau, it's marketing genius.
It is, and what I would say is, how long until we get, the target something? Like, how long is it until? Like, is it if you're a manufacturer, stroke general darts brand, is it something that, because we've seen, we've seen all manner of weird and wacky and wonderful sponsors of late, and people, and it's bringing more people to the table than ever before. But there must be some people within Planet Darts who are looking at that saying, that could have been us. That could be us. Let's look at a tournament and get our name on.
Possibly, but my only concern is I don't know if they all have the finances to do it, shall we say? Because knowing what the PDC charge for just associate tournament sponsorship, I'm not. Look, Target would probably have the financial clout to do it, but I'm not sure the others do.
Well, it's enough to put some car sales companies out of business, isn't it? It's that, Steve.
Anthony is in. How always good to have you in, my friend. In Texas via the great city of New York. Bob is in. Big Johnny, John O'Shea is in.
Sorry, God.
But yeah, no, I agree. I thought my only criticism of the staging, and it's not how it looked at the Masters. I used to love it used to be a box, didn't it? So it used to be like a little box, and you had the bit on the left and the bit on the right, and I used to like that. But that's just nitpicking. That doesn't mean anything.
It's become more generic as it.
Yeah, I used to like the box stage because it used to make it different from other events and
become more of a generic PDC stage. But
correct. And that's not taking.
No, colour looked good. And the surround, especially, I thought the contrast and the colour of the surround, I thought looked particularly nice on stage.
Yeah, I thought it was all good. I spoke to Gary. Gary was fine. He came off a minute. He goes, I've averaged a ton. I've not picked up the darts since December, since the World, so I'll take that.
Didn't do a lot wrong, in fairness. I know we'll talk about it in detail.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. But he was all good. Even Stu in Norway, nice stuff, mate. Yes, look, that is one criticism. Look, the media side of this event is the worst on the calendar, where we have to interview from, and we got, not from you guys, by the way, but we got a lot of shitty comments at the weekend on YouTube videos and on social from people that don't understand it. They're like,
you designed the Marshall Arena.
they're like, oh, surely you lot can interview from somewhere else. It's like, look, on PDC events, we have to do it where the PDC put their media in, and it is on an open balcony. There is absolutely nothing we could do about it. Look, was the sound quality shit on them? Yes, but there was literally nothing we could do.
Did you try shushing the crowd? Did you try?
Yeah, I leant over and I was like, "Can you not just be quiet for 5 minutes, please? Stop cheering, everyone. Stop enjoying yourself."
If we could pack in with Wonderwall for a minute, we've got an interview going on.
Look, that's the only
break for the final. Phil Bars wants to interview the semi-finalists.
Yeah,
quite right.
Exactly. Johnny Mac, pack that intro in. We haven't finished here yet. Look, that's a criticism from a media point of view. It is the worst in the whole calendar to try and do media, and our apologies on it. There was just nothing we could do.
That's when they set us up. That's when they set us up, isn't it? Like,
yeah, 100%. It's just like one of those. But yeah, no, look, the tournament, I loved it from the qualifying criteria right through the tournament. It just, like you say, it just manifests chaos, and it was
my only criticism and it's not a criticism because there is nothing anyone can do about it, because I genuinely think the format is as such that it does manifest chaos and it's set up for chaos. But I don't think we saw anywhere close to the potential chaos. If you look at the qualifiers, we had a chat about this on the fallout. The qualifiers were, dare I say, relatively predictable. We had nobody come through from an affiliate tour. There wasn't really anyone that we hadn't seen on a stage before. And then, yes, we got a couple of upsets, but how much of an upset can you call them? Whilst that potential was there, I don't think it quite realised the potential for full-blown chaos within that tournament.
I think part of that was the absence of a lot of the international guys that qualified. There was no prize money for first round and not getting out the group, so you're expecting them to travel for nothing and go, oh yeah, but you might make TV. I might win the lottery tomorrow. It doesn't mean I'm going to go running off to the other side of the world to play in a darts tournament just in case. Like, it's not that easy for a lot of dart players to back themselves financially to roll the dice like that. And you'd think for a professional event like this, there would have been something, especially for the first time, to ensure that everybody that was invited was there playing in that event. There were some groups that had 2 players in it. What's the fucking point?
Well, that comes back to how they can improve it next year. And I want more players in the groups, not just 2 games to go through. But look, as the first year of the World Masters, I will give them grace.
It's a brilliant time.
It's a new tournament. Right, we've done it this year. How can we improve it next year?
Brilliant starting point.
And you'd like to think that they will improve it as a whole. Look, was it perfect? No, but no tournament is. But for a first one, I thought it was very, very good.
Well, it's already above the Grand Slam, innit? Let's be honest.
It's already above the Grand Slam, the Grand Prix, the Players' Championship Finals.
And is it interesting that
this arguably goes into my top 3/4 already?
Is it interesting as well that we're now, like, people are going to start to talk about it? Now, I know that this year was a little bit interesting because it hadn't been ranked before. No one's defending any money, but also because of the 2-year ranking cycle. As long as that doesn't change between now and this time next year is also a free hit because no one's defending any ranking money. Yes, people are carrying ranking money from this event, but no one's going to drop and lose any ranking money from this next year. So there is another opportunity for that really unusual move up or potentially down the order of merit with this event next year as well. I think it's interesting that it appeared very prestigious. You know, the staging, the trophy. I mean, the fact that there's £100,000 on offer, etc., etc. Also interesting that it's on ITV as well.
Well, also as well, before we get into the action, we went here, and first time we've seen a lot of players this year. We had new equipment, new looks, new walk-on songs. Not all for the best as well, by the way. Ross Smith, Wobble Your Head. Guns N' Roses is not better than Billy Ocean. Dimitri's, he says, I'm not going to dance anymore. And he comes up and he goes full fish on a stage moment. And to be fair, the walk-on actually works for getting the crowd interacted over Happy. For Dimitri, I thought it was it's a better walk-on than Happy.
Some people are bored to death of Happy.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, for me, it's sort of out of the frying pan into the fire. I think at least I preferred Happy as a song. It was personal preference. I didn't like the fact that he had to perform to it, but I actually thought it was more engaging with the crowd. The crowd are more likely to sing along and have a dance about and clatter around in the audience than, like, for me, it's just another David Guetta featuring. Like, you know, and for me, there's just too many. You know, if you have your big list of PDC walk-ons, there is, for me, and has been for years, too many David Guetta featuring.
I'm partial to a bit of David Guetta.
It depends on your taste in music.
Please never do that again.
It does depend on your taste in music, and I know that there are people that would be happy to see every player come out to a different David Guetta song. I think once his 5 or 6 best songs have been used up by other people, you are scraping the bottom of the barrel, so to speak. You know, the best 5 or 6 David Guetta songs aren't available, so you're sort of going for what's left. And I did feel, whilst I was never a fan of the dancing, and I did think that it was a good, solid walk-on. And what I do think is it won't stay on the shelf for a huge amount of time, and sooner or later somebody will claim it.
Well, Dan, you won't get the reference, but I'm showing my age, Dan, like you. I went to see David Guetta play in 2007 in Es Paradis.
Oh,
yeah. Showing my age there. Good to have, Mr. What's that?
I was 12.
Yes, I mean that's why I said you.
If you want a proper reference of someone that I think is probably now cancelled, that's the year that I travelled halfway across the country to see Tim Westwood. If we're talking about classic DJs and kind of
great to have Mr. Spellman in the chat room. Worst part of the prelims wasn't losing; it was sitting around until Sunday with nothing to do.
That was a close run as well from Alex. It was my heart sunk a little bit when I was watching that game on Dark Connect, and my heart did sink a little bit again because, and you know, we know Alex. He's been on the show and he's a great guy, but you know that format of the fact that all sorts of different things can happen. Like if you want to design that at the very beginning, you want to see people on a PDC stage that we haven't seen there before. You know, we want people to be on a TV PDC major who haven't been able to or haven't qualified for. And that's where I've just felt like you've got to give credit to the qualifiers because they won their qualifying events and they did what they needed to do. But I felt like when you reflect on the list, it's just all a little bit predictable.
Yeah. Right. The tournament itself, night one, we didn't know what to expect, but it certainly delivered. Obviously, Luke Humphries, Josh Rock, Damon Hatter, Gutterin Price, William O'Connor with a fabulous performance to beat Ross Smith, Danny Noppert and Stephen Bunting, Peter Wright, all going through. From that top half of the draw, we got I think we got a bigger story away from the darts after Michael Smith lost. He put a very good post out on social media late that night. Very honest, very open. What's been going on for the last 2 years and so on from Bully Boy. I thought it was very interesting.
I'm certainly not surprised to learn that there is something going on. Bully Boy has not been the same player since he won that World Championship, has he? He struggled to back it up a little bit in the year that followed in terms of results. Did he pick up the Masters or something? He picked up a World Series pretty sharpish, didn't he? But then,
after the World Championship.
But then not a lot else followed. A lot of people have put it down to the change in manufacturer, which, let's be honest, when you're as uncomfortable and as injured as Bully Boy seems to be and battling day in, day out, probably isn't helping. Adjusting to your body doing new things as well as your darts doing new things is a lot to take on all at once. But look, he is still plugging away. He didn't have a terrible year last year. If you compare it, look, he fell to 16th in orders, defending a lot of money. But what he did then do is match what at least 3 of the players in the Premier League did on TV last year.
Yeah.
When you stack it up like that, it's not terrible. It's just not top of the world class level.
Yeah, no, 100%. And look, fingers crossed that he can get himself sorted and sorted quickly and find the rhythm, find a way to play pain-free and get back to the Michael Smith we know is there. It's
also worth noting as well, and I don't want to overanalyze it because there's none of us a doctor or physician, but you know, he mentioned like it was a grade 2 AC injury, and that is a significant injury. You know, grade 1 injuries are the type of injuries that we regularly see put footballers out of action for 6-8 weeks. You know, when you've got a grade 2 injury, that's not a strain or a pull. That's torn tissue. Whether that be, and he hasn't gone into the details, but you know, whether that be muscle fiber, ligaments, whatever that is. But the fact that it's a grade 2 means there's torn tissue. You know, what he's got there, he could have developed it over time, could be an RSI issue, there's various other ways it can come about. But it's the type of injury that you could associate with blunt force. You know, you've broken collarbone, dislocations, that sort of thing. So it's a significant injury. The fact that it's a grade 2 injury as well. You know, significant recovery time, sometimes grade 2s will require surgery. It's, you know, it's a big thing to have to play through, especially if you are a dart player and it's here. You know, it's on that front, the ACL on that front side. So if you sort of think about like collarbone meeting into the shoulder joint, like that is it's not a nice place to have an injury if you throw darts for a living at all.
Especially as, like you said, look, with a strain, you can work with a strain, can't you? You can manage it, you can play through it, but actually the downtime is long enough to let that rest in periods. If you've got a tear, what you're then constantly doing is re-tearing that every time you play it. So you're not giving it any time to heal more and more and more. So he's pushing this back longer and longer and longer. And actually, Matt Edgar and I were having this conversation on Twitter the other day about the lack of a physio on site at PDC events and that sort of thing provided by the PDPA, and there not being that sort of feedback and help available. And actually, the more and more darts these guys are not forced to play, but are put through, what is that this year, 36, 34 Pro Tours, plus the Euro Tours, World Series, Premier League, majors, etc. Plus all the practice these guys are expected to do. They're making a living through exhibitions as well for some of them, and appearances that they've already promised through sponsorship and God knows else what. There isn't time to take a layoff if you're at the top level of this game. There is no protection to your rankings if you get injured, like perhaps we see in tennis or golf. Like, none of that is in place to protect the players in the PDC. It's build up enough for 2 years and hope that by the time you're fit enough again, you've got enough of a platform to try and keep your card the year later. Let's be honest, if a grade 2 tear like that, Michael Smith could be out for 9 to 12 months if he took it seriously enough to rest it. But he can't afford to take a break like that because there's no chance to be a pro at the end of it.
Yeah, no, look, I'm not disagreeing at all, and it's an interesting thing that we a few players spoke out about more and more injuries in darts, and that the evolution of the sport is coming. That we know over the last 18 months it has gone on this huge path towards the stars, and that things will change. But at the moment, it's an interesting one. But back to the Masters, we'll come and touch on this more as we go along. First time we saw Josh Rock with the new equipment. I liked it. I liked what I saw. I
liked some of what I saw.
That shirt is hideous.
When you see it up close and talk to Josh, I appreciate it's not, I don't like it, but it's personal to Josh, so I get it. And then the day he's got to wear it.
Did you find out, is it the Fantastic Four?
A little bit. That bit across there is the giant causeway in Northern Ireland as well.
That's what it is it? Right.
It's the giant causeway pattern from Northern Ireland.
Supposed to be. It looks shy.
I'm happy. Like, you know, I'm happy. If I know that that's the aim and that's what he's going for, I'm happy to go, yeah, fine. But I think it almost needed that alongside the launch. I feel like we needed to be.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to be
photos and stuff in there, weren't they? It was in the big long photo. It was clearly somewhere, but yeah, not for me.
I'm happy to get on board, but sometimes you've got to hold my hand and drag me. Like, you've got to sort of get me. You've got to get me there. Don't let me think too much, because I'll come up with the wrong thing if I'm allowed to think.
But I like the equipment. I thought that worked very, very well.
Looked lovely. Yeah, difficult. I mean, I was a fan of a mate of mine that I do captains our darts team. He exclusively plays with Josh Rock's darts, so the last set, if you like, as a few sets of them. So I've had a good few opportunities to throw them, and I thought that they were really, really good. And I wasn't sure what we'd see from a new set of Josh Rock darts, because I thought the last set was so good that I wasn't. Where do you go from there? But they certainly look nice. I haven't had my hands on a set yet, but I look forward to doing so.
Yeah, no, look, it was from that side. It was really, really good. Damon Heta, an interesting weekend for him. Obviously, won his first game, then beat Gerwin Price in a last leg decider. He's got his hands on his Rolex now, as well, which was interesting. Just randomly, yep, money's there, then go. What's shopping in Milton Keynes?
I'd like to know which one he got. Genuinely out of interest.
Wait a minute. I don't know if you can see it from here, but let's have a look.
As you know it, boy, I'm glad you asked. Yes. skip a beat when that left my account. I've never purchased something so big. Besides a house or a car, I don't think I've ever purchased something so big. But I had to do it because I put it out there and I said things, and I'm a man of my word, so I just went for it. As soon as that money went in, I just like, yep, let's go to the shop. And yeah, sure enough, Milton Keynes had a dealer, and I just bought one, mate. And that's how it is, you know what I mean? Living that fast life.
It looked
like a Submariner to me.
Yeah, it looked a bit
fat. Submariner, yeah.
It looked a bit fatter than a date or a date just or something like that. I think it looked like it might be a Submariner, and I think he mentioned somewhere around the 10 grand mark,
right,
which should put him in about the right ballpark, depending on what he's got and where he got it from. Mate, the thing is, you'll never hear a moan from me on someone buying something like that. Like, he's earned it. He's earned that money. Clearly, you know, I mean, if you're behind on your mortgage, don't go and buy a Rolex. But if,
I'm reliably informed it's a vintage sub 1980s Rolex.
Is that what it is it? I like it. Yeah, good right. It's a nice pick. And you know, bollocks, if you've got the money and you can do it.
Beat my Casio though, proper watch.
No, I just like if you've got the cash, and then do it and enjoy it. And let's be honest, he ain't losing money on it. If he's in the shit in a couple of years' time, he'll be able to sell it. He might even make a few quid on it. But yeah, good on him. Like, it's sometimes, you know, we do. And we dwell a lot, and I think sometimes it gets, you know, we dwell a lot sometimes on the frustrations of the bottom end of the game, and we talk about how, you know, there are players that have still got to go and, you know, plaster walls and do this and drive the Amazon delivery van and other bits and pieces. But like, you know, there's a bit of a hero story in Damon's story, in that, you know, he's moved across the world and he's came here with. You know, yes, I think he was a roofer, or he had a trade, didn't he? You know, he was a tradesman, but he's sort of given it all up to come and have a go at this. And a few years later, he's, you know, ranked where he is in the world. He's had a fantastic career. There are plenty of people who are, and granted, I will say on Damon before we move on as well, the interview, and I don't know if you've got it, Phil, in the back end to play, but it was the interview that he gave to you at the weekend about the Premier League. Was about as measured and sensible and wise as I've seen from a player. I just think if you're going to say something, like, give it some thought and be articulate. I thought you did a really good job of it. Really good job of it. Yeah, balls to it. If you've won a shitload of let's be honest, these dart players predict.
The thing is, I thought.
A minute. I've just found. I'm just uploading it now. Might take a couple of minutes.
But I just think, you know, a lot of the players, and I assume Damon included, you know, at the top end, you'd like to think they're comfortable. You know, 2-year money they've had. I know there's expenses to pay and everything, but you know, you'd like to think they were doing all right. And that money, the 9 dart money, let's be honest, it's money he hadn't factored in. You know, he'd looked at that World Championships and thought, well, if I get to this round, I'll get this. If I get to that round, I'll get that. And all of a sudden, there's a little bump on it. And I'll never fault anybody for going and thinking, yeah, like John says, you can't take it with you. And I still think if he's bought the right watch in 2 or 3 years' time, it's probably worth more than he paid for it anyway.
Yeah, look, I'm not a watch person, but they don't go down in value, do they?
No, if you buy the right ones.
Some do, but not a lot.
Yeah, we'll play that clip once it's loaded in. We'll come back to that. But yeah, I agree, because there's some other clips we are going to play.
I just think of the ones you got. I just thought, because we've been, let's be honest, you know, we've been fairly quick to go, or I have fairly quick to go in 2-footed on the way some players have spoke about the Premier League selection this year. And I know he spoke of it before, but I did think that the way that he put it across in that interview was about as good as I've seen. I think he came across really well and quite articulate, and yeah, it was a really good interview.
Yeah, the bottom half of the draw was interesting. Ryan Searle, we're going to play a clip from him in a minute, beating Chris Dobie. MVG beat Bradley Brooks. Dimitri Vandenberg, who had a great weekend, beat Gary Anderson. Another disappointing TV performance from Dave Chisnell. And then Nathan Aspinall, we saw some good stuff from him as well across the weekend. 103 average to beat Andrew Gilding in that. Johnny Clayton obviously rocking up with some new equipment, and they worked remarkably well for him as well. We saw the old ferret, shall we say.
Now they look nice. Because that's what I throw. I throw Johnny Clayton darts. And I've been fancying a set, the Lunar set I've been fancying for a little while. And then he tips up with them. And they look delicious. Like, they looked really... And they I mean, they're working for him. Like, he threw some lovely stuff. It was vintage ferreting.
I don't think I'm the only one that was concerned by Johnny's mannerisms at the World Championship, the way he was defeated, the way he's like not going to be here forever, etc. That thought perhaps this was him starting to wind down. He's responded beautifully. If you look at ranking and whatever, there is a shout that he could have been in the Premier League this year. Not should have, but could have. And he's turned up and he's shown Mike De Decker and Dave Chisnell exactly how to do it, who, by the way, both flopped first round.
Yeah, no, look, if Johnny had won the final, he'd have gone to world number 4, which would have been interesting. Before a dart was thrown in the Premier League, the world number 4 is not in there, but that's another story.
If that had happened, would it have been the first time ever that someone's in the top 4 and not in the Premier League, night 1 of the Premier League?
Probably, yeah. I can't remember another one.
I think it would have been.
How are we doing, Darts Anonymous? Hope you are good.
Before, is there? Like, the UK Open is the first one, and that's a few weeks into it, which is my, I guess, another criticism of the tournament is when it is. I really like the fact that absolutely everybody can play in this, and I really like the fact that the UK Open is very similar. The worry I have now is that the UK Open is 3 weeks away. I don't like the fact they're that close together. I think you should stagger these tournaments of this size and magnitude where everybody gets a chance to play in them, whether that be the JDC guys, the Challenge Tour, whatever, throughout the season, because they're really crucial to picking up ranking, not within the space of a month of each other.
Is it true Chris Mason's been axed by ITV? No, Mark, it's not.
Mark, I told you about 6 times on Fallout Bars this week that wasn't true.
Mace and Webby hold that ITV... Hold between Mace and Webby, they hold that whole ITV production together. Right, we've got the clip here.
So the thing is, I thought after I lost that game, I thought there's no even point even worrying about it or thinking about it. I never thought I was in, and it wasn't until like the day before, and there was a lot of talk on social media, and people are like really hanging. I'm like, I just can't see it. And then there was a little bit of glimmer of going, oh, you might be like, oh, I might be in it. I don't know. I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything from whoever, and it could have been a thing. And I was like, yeah. But at the end of the day, what it is, you know what I mean? I feel like I have to earn my spot. I feel like, you got to be that top 4, top 5, and after that is whoever they pick. And that's how it's always ever been. And that's just how I felt. It would have been nice, don't get me wrong, I would love to be in it and play in it, only for the fact with the darts and with all the quality that's involved and everything that comes along with it. But at the end of the day, like I said, we got a lot of darts to play, and we've got a long season ahead and for the next few years ahead. So I've got to keep looking forward to that, and that's all I'm mostly concentrated on. So, Premier League has not been a goal that I have written down or anything. It's just one of those things that it'll happen when it happens, or if it happens, and it's just one of those. Obviously, I still got my sundial, as you can see. Paddy Power has been slow to pay. Make sure you get that out there. I don't know, they're Irish, aren't they? It could be a little bit dodgy, I don't know. But we just roll with what we got at the moment until the dollars come through, mate.
I just thought it was very measured and far wiser than other players have weighed in on Premier League selection. And I would like to think that come January next year, people might think about, or people probably will think about, what those not included this year have said. And I think he's making the right noises and doing the right things.
Yeah. Good evening, Jar. Hope you are good. Good to have you in the chat room, buddy. Yeah, and as well, that when he said that about Paddy, obviously that we've got a great relationship with Paddy. So I just dropped our contacts a little clip of that just to let him know what had been said. And he laughed and he was like, funny enough, he's going to get it tomorrow. But what Damon didn't quite say in that, when he went on holiday to Australia, he didn't give his bank details to Paddy until he got back.
He missed that one out, did he?
But look, again, it looked great. Again, Paddy, it's not even their tournament, but they come out of it good. Paying the next day and he gets a road.
Yeah, I've got to be. I do think that's quite good. You know, we're playing in a non-Paddy tournament, yet they've somehow still managed to get everybody talking about Paddy power during the tournament.
It's superb, isn't it? As well, Jerry, good to have you, mate. I did see your comment earlier and completely forgot. It was great to meet you at the hotel as well, mate. Thank you very much. Right, I'm going to play a couple of clips before we go on to the nuts and bolts of it. It was the first time we got to speak to a few players. So we're going to do William O'Connor, followed by Ryan Searle. And it was funny because Ryan Searle was like smiling. I was waiting for this. We'll do Willie first.
We're goosed. Like, I mean, the European Tour is such a huge part of the Pro Tour. And like, I don't know, eight qualify now for the Pro Tour? For the Europeans. Like, we haven't a chance. I mean, how do you break into the top 32? Or how do you break into anything? I mean, like, whatever opportunity you have, they're pulling it out from under you, like, and it makes it so difficult. So, like, even if you qualify for one or two of those now in the year, it's going to be huge. You can't catch the big boys. They are where they are.
I think I was number 5 on the Pro Tour Order of Merit. You know, that takes a lot to do. You look at the people that are above me, I think it's Humphries, Littler, Chizzy, they've all won multiple Euro Tours, and yeah, it's just one of those things, and I'll deal with it. I'll try not to moan too much. I've said this year that I'm not going to moan. I know I spend a lot of time with Gary and he likes to moan. But yeah, I'm not going to moan about any travelling. I'm just going to get my head down, put a lot more effort in than I have in the past, and see where that takes me.
I was going to let Bob go on this.
No,
Goose.
Ryan.
Kicking
Do
the
the
teeth.
opposite. Fucking moan. Everybody needs to fucking moan. Loudly. And get something done about it, because it is ridiculous the contempt that the PDC are treating anybody outside the top 16 with.
Look,
You've got 8 opportunities to qualify.
Fuck off. Charlie, fuck off. Well, we should have done better in the World Championships. Behave. It's just not happening, is it? The leaps just aren't there, and all they're going to do is pile on the prize money to the top end of the World Championship, which guys got even more protection for. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
The entire structure, all the changes that are currently being made, and once again, not Glenn, because I've had a conversation with him, we're sat here going, what the fucking hell do the PDPA even exist for anymore?
that the PDPA one, I completely agree. They are fast
because there's absolutely no way, even if they're not strictly a union or whatever, and however they've been set up, that the people within that structure, if they have been consulted on this, have agreed with it and gone, yes, this benefits every single player under our.
What I haven't seen, and I'm always the first one. If I'm proven wrong, and I regularly am, I'm always happy just to put my hands up and say, yeah, fair enough, yeah, I'm wrong, misinformed, didn't read, whatever. But has there been any comments from inside the? And again, let's take Glenn out of it because we know his view. Has there been anything from outside of that group saying that this isn't good? That this is like, I'm always the first. Like, I'll give you the Premier League. I couldn't give a shit. Like, put who you want in. It's an exhibition. It raises loads of money and it funds a load of other stuff that the PDC do elsewhere. Like, you want to do the World Series, fine. Dick around, do what you want. Just invite people. It's not ranked. Couldn't care less. When you start dicking around in this way with ranking events, it's different because it affects, right? And I just think, no, like, you can reserve the right to fuck around all you want with non-ranked stuff because it's not ranked. You can arse around to your heart's content. I think when it's ranked, you have a responsibility to impart some sort of balance on it, or to create enough opportunities. Like the future of darts is, and it lies with the PDC, but it also lies with them creating stars, creating more people who will come through and that the crowds want to go and see and will sell tickets, and that people want to put the telly on when they know they are playing. In order to do that, you've got to look outside of the people who are your current stars. You need some sort of succession plan because Dave Chisnell ain't going to be around forever. And you can't just keep pumping the same people through that system. And you have to have some way of allowing people to bridge the gap and break through what is now a glass ceiling between that top section. But I would have expected an organisation such as the PDPA, there are representatives of that organisation who hold very grandiose titles that I'm sure look very good on business cards and look very nice when they want to go and shake hands with people and get an invite to places. But I would expect an organisation with a remit such as theirs to have those people with those grandiose titles come out and say, this is not something that the PDPA are on board with. We think it's not the best thing for the tour. And I would forgive them all of their helplessness because I appreciate they are helpless in a lot of ways, because this is rule one applies, and this is not, there is no union, and this is not a sport with a governing body. But it would go an awful long way for me if I could see the people in those positions just say it out loud and say, look, there's very little we can do to combat this. But my view is, our view as an entity, is this isn't the best thing for the tour. If someone said that out loud, I'd forgive a lot, because I just think, yeah, fair enough, there's only so much you can do. Well, put your trousers on and say it out loud.
Matt summed it up in the interview that is on our YouTube channel. The PDPA only exists because of the money from the PDC. They're not going to rock the boat or bite the hands that feeds them. That was Matt's exact words. And
but if I was in that organisation and I was doing that, I would feel, you would feel like you're having the piss stuck out of you, wouldn't you? Like, I think that's quite a funny line from Matt. I think he's done well there, and I think Matt is one of the best chief executives in sport. I think he's unbelievably.
No, Edgar said it.
All right. Well, I mean, he's right though. He's very right. He's completely correct. But I mean, so then what? So then where? Like, fucking where?
Well, I know where we go, and I know people are gonna like it. And the word is always, and try and start this. The only option for the rest of the players right now is to form an actual union.
If you can't,
I can't see any other way when they get protected.
But the PDC doesn't have to accept that union.
Who's joining?
No, but it's some form of pressure.
But who's joining the union?
The only power the players are going to have is if they collectively group up to do something. And at the minute, it benefits 10 people, so they stay quiet on it, and then 6 kick off about it, and you've got 3 people crying about not being in the Premier League, which is a different matter, but then are far too bothered about that than something else. The only way for anything to be done in a positive manner that either reverses this or makes changes that are beneficial to the entire tour, such as minimum earnings or first round prize money or anything like that, is if everybody in that group, everybody in that room gets together and go, this is what we want, make it happen. Because what they can do, it's very unlikely to happen, but if 60 players suddenly go, nah, fuck it, we're not playing, it makes a mockery of their entire Pro Tour. The only thing you've got to do to do anything is to embarrass the PDC.
But what you're never going to get is you're first of all going to get the top 16 players in the world who are not going to participate in that, because why the fuck would they? Everyone probably.
But they won't be at the Pro Tours anyway. So what you've got to do is talk to the players and then potentially stepping up, because it will affect them in the future. If they're good enough to be in a position in the
challenge, how many people went to Q school?
Loads.
There is any amount of willing future tour card holders. The blokes that are ranked 120 through 90, like if they got together and if they got together and ran a tombola, the PDC wouldn't buy a cursory line of raffle tickets, like, because they're so replaceable. Because all you've got to look at is the volume of players going to Q school. That they are replaceable.
Not even Q school. If you went to, say, it's never happened, but say 60 players went, like you said, no, I'm not doing it. If you went to 60 players on the dev tour, do you want their cards? They would jump at it. So I understand what you're saying.
Individual events, when they're there for a block of them, don't play one day. And
I
complete
understand. I get.
Because they're not going to call up 60 odd people for one day. And if they are, those that are in a position to be called up from the Challenge Tour for a one-off event, should hopefully understand that actually the players that are making a stand are doing it for potentially their benefit in a couple of years' time. Because if you're in a position to be called up from the Challenge Tour, there's a chance you're competing for a card. And in 18 months' time, you might be in the same position, having earned $6,000 in 18 months.
For me, it takes far too many people to do something that negatively affects themselves for other people, and you ain't ever going to see it.
100%.
It ain't gonna. Like,
it's not going to happen.
It takes far too many people to do something that will negatively affect them to potentially improve things for other folks. And I mean, it is worrying. And let's be honest, I think, 95% of it, we go, yeah, fine, yeah, it's good, yeah, of everything. It's that change of situation. We weren't up in arms last year about it. But it's just, we've had a year of it, haven't we? But when previous to that, we weren't up in arms. I just think it's not ideal. It's not particularly good. Most people are just going to suck it up and get on with it. They might have a little gripe at first. My main gripe is people masquerading as representatives for the betterment of darts and dart player conditions, who are unwilling to put their head above the parapet and say, whilst we are unable to affect any change, this is our view as an organisation. And I appreciate that without PDC funding, they probably wouldn't exist. And that's fair enough. But in which case, why the fuck do they exist then? What do they exist for? Because if all they exist for is referring you to their preferred accountant, who I'm sure isn't doing referral fees, but like, if all they exist for is to refer dart players to their preferred accountant, then I just don't get it. I am hopeful that somebody will give me a list of bullet points as to like what they are there to do.
And look, there was a comment earlier on. Oh, by the way, good evening, Jack. Hope you are good, buddy. Time to get yourself a new watch. Lad, So where was it? Yeah, here we are. So I didn't hear this, but I'm just Warren mentioned something on ITV that the PDP and the PDC met to discuss it. However, the PDA. So that says to me that if they had a meeting to discuss it, look, one that we all know, even if, like Dan said, even if they wanted to go against it, it would happen anyway. But that says to me they had a meeting, discussed it, and backed it. That says to me.
They have to have, because there's no way he sits there and goes, yeah, we've discussed it and everything's fine. Like, you voice your opinion there. There was no subtle dig within that line, was there? There was no, actually, this didn't go too well or whatever. You don't openly admit you had a conversation unless you're happy with the outcome of that conversation.
But that's the point. And that's the difficulty. And this is the challenge, right? That So Alan's in an interesting position because he holds the post that he does within the PDPA, but he's also there presenting the PDC product employed, and that is an unusual position for a person to find themselves in. And he might not feel comfortable to go in 2-footed on the PDC whilst he's in that pundit role as because he's not there as a member of the PDPA or a director of the PDPA, is he? He's there as a paid pundit. But then how effective can he be in his role at the PDPA if he's not able to productively represent dart players because he's being paid to do something else? I don't know. Maybe he feels he's being very effective. I'm not so sure.
It's interesting. But it's interesting that players...
We talk about the comms team as well now.
To see, I can't. No, tell I. I haven't heard any comms from this weekend because we don't get the comms upstairs, right? So I don't know how good or bad it was. I've got a fair idea that 2 were very good and the rest not so. Would that be a fair assessment?
It's pretty much the same ones, and I get hesitant of picking on players and naming names because it is what I want to do, and I've started commentating myself. And what you don't do is go and bash other people in the same industry as you or trade as you or people whose jobs you want ultimately or whatever else. But some of the shit spewed this weekend was ridiculous. I mean, all you have to do is take a look at the fact that arguably the best commentator in the world was in Milton Keynes on Wednesday streaming the qualifiers and then wasn't used by the broadcaster, whilst the guy whose main sport is cycling was picked to do virtually fucking everything.
Well, I was always told if you haven't got anything nice to say, then you shouldn't say anything. You should only say nice things. So what I will say is that Ned Bolton is an incredibly talented cycling commentator. And I'll leave it there.
This is not personal against any of them, but darts is in this biggest boom we've ever had, with more eyes on the product than we've ever had. And every time I tune in to watch darts at the minute, there is at least one commentator on every broadcast that is saying shit that is completely wrong, factually wrong. People that have been doing this job for over 15 years. Absolutely no way on this earth, despite the fact it was an absolutely fantastic final, was that Johnny Clayton's best game ever. The man's won the fucking Premier League.
It wasn't his best game in that fucking room.
No, he averaged 112 3 rounds before. Oh my God, what a shot. Johnny Clayton's averaging 100. Are you fucking mental? 4 times he repeated that line in 42 seconds. What planet was that his best ever game? Who are you trying to kid? The game of his life? No, it fucking wasn't. It's not even in the top 10, arguably, because he lost.
No, and I'm not saying I disagree, but this is the issue when you have people that are contracted to a broadcast. Not just in darts, by the way. I look at football commentary as well, where some of the Sky football commentators are very, very good. Some of them are fucking awful.
Yeah, but I
Alan Smith being one of them. But because he's got a contract with that broadcaster, he is always going to get the gigs. The same as ITV. They have contracts with them. And that's not saying that's right, by the way, but that's an industry-wide thing in no matter what sport we're talking here, whether that be football, tennis, golf, or whatever. That's a broadcast thing. That if you've got a...
Yeah, I think it's easy to go in on Ned Bolton when you forget that he's an incredibly talented cycling broadcaster who's on a contract with ITV. He's not the president of the PDPA. And who perhaps should know better.
That's a broadcast thing. That's not just a darts problem. That's a broadcast thing. but that's the way it is.
Alexander back, because at least Vassos was talking to an audience that the presumption Vassos had to make every time he commentated was that the audience had never seen darts before, despite the fact it was on BBC for 20, 30 years. It rolled around on their channel once a year, and you had to believe, like you do with most sports on the BBC, that every time somebody is watching, somebody is brand new to that sport, and you have to explain what's going on. And actually, if you dumb it down, I didn't think he was terrible. Admittedly, I was 14 when I was listening to Vassos Alexander. But actually, in that role, I don't think he was dreadful.
Look, everyone's asking where Dan was. Look, don't get me wrong, Dan is up there with the elite darts broadcasters, but unfortunately, he's a freelancer, so he's not contracted to any broadcaster. Like Wayne is strictly contracted to Sky, and so on. So unfortunately, broadcasters have contracts with people. And if there's no room to bring in a freelancer, there's no room. That's just the way it is.
What I would like to see, however, is as ITV have done with Ned. I love watching cycling. And Ned, I honestly, I cannot say enough good things about how good he is at covering cycling. But with Wayne, and his book's behind me today, I've been working on a little background setup there. But with Wayne being contracted to Sky, I would like to see Sky start using Wayne on more rogue sports and saying to him, look, you are contracted to Sky. Like, you're going to start commentating on greyhound racing and equivalent sports like NFL and other random rogue shit.
Chase tag.
Yeah, I want Sky to start saying to it, because I think Wayne's brilliant, and I would love to see him just commentating on all sorts of rogue, obscure sports. That'd be epic.
I'd love to see him at like the 9-ball, and every time somebody golden breaks, like he does when he hits a 180 exhibition, just start doing a fucking lap, high-fiving the fans at the Moscone in the middle of Vegas. Like, Mardo's lost the plot again. Here we go. Beautiful. That's TV.
Look, more of that.
But by the sounds of it, this just isn't a UK issue. It's an industry thing. To be fair, we've kind of gone a bit rogue here. Let's go. Let's put it back in. No, not the plan, but we'll go back to the Masters.
Early, haven't we? We've gone off piste. I've had a tea tonight, and I've had a drink, so we've gone right off straight away.
It was interesting that Luke Humphries has changed equipment, but won the tournament.
Yeah, and Luke has always been, certainly in the content that we've seen, that because he's been world number one, was world champion for that year, we got lots of content of Luke, where we got, this is a breakdown of my throw, this is a breakdown of my equipment, and talked extensively about the pentathlon flights and the length of the stem and the front weighted dart and the way it flies. And he was one of the last players that me sitting outside of the inner circle expected to see an equipment change from, because I thought he was incredibly settled and almost attributed that step that he'd made from general dart player to elite dart player to the equipment that he was using. Didn't expect it, but I mean, you can't say it's gone wrong, can you?
So it's not a massive change. The dart has been made a little bit smaller, the point a bit bigger, so it's still the same length.
Has it affected the weighting of the dart anymore, with the dart being shorter? Because I mean, I assume it's exactly the same weight, but
yeah, it's literally they've made the dart a couple of mil shorter and the point a couple of mil bigger.
Might change the balance point a little bit, but not a lot. Surprisingly, like, his darts look almost comically long. Players don't use a stem that long anymore. It just doesn't happen. But his setup works. When you put it together, there's just something about the way the dart is balanced that works. It's very, very similar to back in the day, Justin Pipe's setup. Justin Pipe's setup was about 15 years ahead of the times. If you look at how long his points were and the way they lied down and everything else about it. And if you tried to throw it, you look at it or go, that's never going to suit me, whatever. But actually, it was balanced beautifully when you had his setup. When you start tinkering a little bit, like people go and buy a Luke Humphries darts and then put a slightly shorter point in it and try and throw their normal medium length or short length stem and go, well, why aren't they sitting up properly? Why aren't they doing this? And go, because he's got his dart balanced perfectly with that length, with the way that he throws. It's hard to explain how he's just nailed it.
Yeah. And look, if he wins the UK Open, he can be the first to go over that £2 million mark as well, which is something we keep going on about. And actually, we'll play the clip, and then we'll play Luke and we'll play Johnny back to back, and then we'll discuss, because Luke does like to point this out.
I think it's really good. It's something different. Just took away that special heritage from the Winmau World Masters that, it's probably not been as prestigious over the last 5 to 6, 7, 8 years now. And it's nice that the PDC and Winmau brought it back here and made it special again. And the way that final went, I think that sort of showed that it's ready to be brought to life again. And yeah, really privileged to be the first one to win it as a rank. Yeah, I mean, kind of. People forget it's like 2 out of 3 of the last majors I've won now, so you do get a little bit of people where they kind of think that when you have a couple of bad performances that you're going to fall down and that's it, you're defending so much, you're going to collapse. But like I said to you, I'm just here to enjoy myself, win as much as I can, and there's another one on the ticks off, and to be three away from James Wade, what a legend he is, to be close to him. I was nothing a few months ago, now I've got 7. When you put it into perspective, when you can be close to a legend like James Wade, it's really is something special. So for me, I'm just here to enjoy myself and try to win as much as I can. If I can get over that 10 mark, then I think that would be a massive appreciation for myself and my family.
A massive confidence. Do you know what I mean? Listen, obviously I'm gutted that I didn't win. I had a chance in that 120 where, that last leg decider didn't go for me tonight. Luke is fantastic. What a player. I'm glad to be back challenging the top boys, you know what I mean? And I got a smile on my face, and hopefully it's going to be dangerous Johnny Clayton this year. So, all credits to Luke. I never give up, but he kept me away, and he won that. Brilliant.
From where you were, did you believe these TV finals were possible? Because you talked about walking away. Even recently, you said you didn't know how much longer you had left in the game. Did you believe that nights like this were still possible?
I'm never going to say no, because that's what we all want. That's what I want. Do you know what I mean? It's just putting it together to get to this, and don't get me wrong. I had Luke Littler first game today, and to get over that line, Luke is playing well. There's a tick in my box. So at the end of the day, I'm getting back slowly to what I can do.
Do we perhaps forget on Luke Humphries that, as he said, he has won 2 out of the last 3 majors?
Wins a lot. I don't think we forget it. I just think Littler went and won the big one and converted the hype, didn't he? Like, the kid's a joke. Humphries is quite similar right now. And they still go into every event first and second favourite. For me, it's brilliant to see the likes of Johnny back competing, though, because I think we've missed that. I think we've missed that. I don't want to call them second tier, but right at the top of the elite, we've missed players that can regularly go and challenge the likes of Luke and Luke. We've seen upsets in the last year. We've seen Dedeco win majors, etc. But what we haven't seen is somebody that can go, right, I'm going to be number 3 in that group. And it's not going to be Luke and Luke. It's going to be me, Luke, and someone else. Or it's going to be me, Luke, and 2 others. And we're going to become a 4 or 5 feared. At the minute, it's 2 are feared. Everybody else can have their day. And if Johnny can produce that on the consistent for the foreseeable, it's brilliant to see him back. We're seeing Peter Wright perform to those levels a little bit more often at the minute. Perhaps a little bit more from Gerwyn Price as well. Like, these guys that have been world class, that have been up in that position, that have been dominant, are slowly creeping back towards that level. It feels like 6-7 years ago, but the Lukes have got to look over their shoulders now.
Look, Bob, on this one, nothing to do with me, mate. Nothing to do with me. What did we think of the MVG rebrand for this tournament?
Bizarre.
I thought the shirt looked better. And then listening to him talk afterwards, I think mid this year, we might get a complete MVG rebrand after the way this one has been received, shall we say.
The thing about it is, it's difficult when you are Michael Van Gerwen. You know, when you are considered, and people talk about you as being one of the greatest players ever in the sport. People talk about him like less than a handful of people who've ever thrown a dart, and he is in that conversation. For him to instigate that, it's a bit like Cristiano Ronaldo getting to a point where saying, "I'll tell you what I'm going to do from now on. I'm going to wear number 14." It's that has now become, and yeah, people will spend all weekend going, "Oh, well, he wore this colour then, and he wore." Yeah, I'm sure he did. I'm sure Cristiano Ronaldo has worn numbers that weren't 7. If you want to trace him back to his youth team days.
Well, his first year at Madrid, he wore 9 because Raul was still playing.
But it's become so much part of his brand. You know, you buy the MVG branded dartboard and darts case, and you know, targeting rings to put on your board and everything else that you can get. It's become so much part of his image. The green lights in the arena, where we get no coloured lights for any other player, but we get green lights for him. I'm not sure. First of all, commercially, it's a good decision. I don't think it's a good decision commercially at all. I genuinely would. I'd be happy to stake good money on the fact that he will sell, yes, less shirts per year if they are black rather than they are green. I'd be very happy to anyone that wants to take that bet, DM me. Like, he will sell less shirts per year, black than green. I think commercially it's a really bad decision. If he would rather wear a black shirt than a green shirt, fine. Like, again, and I've said it, we say it about loads of other players. They have earned the right to do so. He's earned the right to wear whatever he wants. He could come in shorts and flip-flops if he fancied. Some people do it all the time. Some people do it whenever they fancy. Some people turn up to a wedding like that. But you know, he's earned the right to wear whatever the hell.
The thing is, right, I don't think the rebrand that we get will be. I still think it will have green on it, but instead of being that predominantly all green, could we get it more black and then the splashes are green? Do you know what I mean? Instead of the other way around, where it's predominantly green with bits of black.
I would accept Celtic green and white hoop based type thing. But do you remember that Celtic away shirt that was green and black?
Yeah.
I'd accept something like that. I think that looked cool. I might try and copyright the idea before he cottons onto it, because I think that's a great idea. But yeah, a Celtic away style hoop would be nice.
James asked why was it change the shirt? It was done. It was a collaboration between him and Winmau to celebrate his 10-year deal, the return of the Winmau World Masters. So it was a collaborational. The
other thing I'll say on that, Phil, and I hope in saying it, I don't upset anyone. Probably, I say I hope. I'm not asked. The problem with that is I know loads about what's going on in darts. And I'm lucky enough to sit in a number of different WhatsApp groups with people who know far more about what's going on in darts than me. And he came out in that black shirt and everyone went, "The fuck's he doing wearing a black shirt?" Like, if you're going to do something to mark something or celebrate something or as a collaboration with an organisation, tell someone. Otherwise, you've wasted your time. If you're going to collaborate with a company to do a... To be fair,
I think they did, because pretty much that shirt and darts you can't buy anymore. They're all sold out. So from that point of view, I think it worked.
Well, yeah, fair enough then.
I just don't think it's going to last very long. Well, you might see it at the UK Open again, but he's got to go back to green. His fucking nickname is the Green Machine. Like, you sort of have to go back to green. Like, yes, marketing stunt, brilliant, well done. Got some eyes on it, sold his new range, superb. Go back to green as quick as you can, because let's go and have a look at the rest of the tour. How many players play in anything even closely resembling his shade of green?
Nobody dares touch it. No one's going to dare touch it.
If he stays away from it for another couple of events, it will open the door for someone to go, I'll have a bit of that. I'll have a bit of that. I don't have to stay there, but it just gets the chance to play mind games and prat around in green shirts and whatever else.
Just while we're on it, I'm going to throw it in really quickly, and it is because I've had no tea and a couple of beers. We spoke the other week and we talked about anti-walk-on songs, rogue walk-on songs to suit your opponent. Like, if you're playing Stephen Bunting, I'm coming out to Bulletproof, right? I do something to engage in that. Is there any player out there with the balls to come out wearing that shade of green, playing against Mike? We've seen players mix it up in the Premier League.
And he's got
one player has got the balls to do it. Peter Wright.
If he gets a permission slip signed that week.
Because I can't, again, like I say about walk-on songs, I can't believe no one's ever, used some. Yes, we get one-off ones, but use some like directly almost as an anti their opponent's walk-on song. But I'm waiting sometimes for someone to come out in that green and think, yeah, don't shit you up.
Well, whilst we're talking about walk-on songs, someone asked about the power. That no one will be allowed to use the power, I don't think, to walk onto.
There are some things that just won't and can't be touched, and the broadcaster are pretty adamant. Phil wanted to move away from the power at one point. His mate Robbie, did you know he's friends with Robbie Williams, was going to write him a walk-on song, etc., and was basically straight up told no. Like, that is synonymous with Phil Taylor. If Michael Van Gerwen attempted to change tomorrow, I don't think he'd be allowed. I was going to say,
ultimately, the broadcaster gets final say.
I don't think Peter Wright would be allowed to change. I think his is close enough to being too...
Well, he tried. He wanted to come out to Squid Games.
Yeah. Gary, maybe a little bit with House of Pain, Jump Around. Players that have had more modern songs or that have been around for 5-10 years. Michael Smith could change tomorrow. That would be fine. Goin Price could change tomorrow. We've just seen Cross change again, etc. Damon Hatter changes his song more often than he changes his underwear.
He's using Darren Webster's old one.
Those guys are pretty...
I'm aware of power being used anywhere else is currently at Wolverstone Village Cricket Club when Billy goes out to the stumps.
Asp is never going to be allowed to change. That's like the UK anthem.
Concrete, yeah.
That. But even like within the seniors, Thornton is not changing from the Proclaimers anytime soon.
No.
Endo's not changing from Status Quo anytime soon. There's an argument that Martin Adams, who I think has let on somewhere that he wants to change, shouldn't be allowed to change Hungry Like the Wolf with a nickname like
that should never change. It's my favourite part of going to a Masters event is I will come out of whatever cupboard or hole I am stored in at a Masters event and go into the venue sometimes just to hear Hungry Like the Wolf and then go back into my cupboard. It should never allow to be changed.
So, before we leave it, overall, the Masters, hit or miss?
Hit.
Yeah, overall, it's a hit. There's some things have changed. I think that's more calendar general, my main point, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I loved every single minute of it. The Premier League returns this week. It starts all over again for the next 17 weeks. We go on the road.
Some of us don't. Some of us are doing the Fallout.
Yeah, but you love that.
I do, yeah. Thursdays every week. Thursdays every week, folks. Fallout bar. It's gonna be
every week.
Can't wait. I genuinely can't wait for it this year. Because, and I've said it a few times, when we do the Fallout bar, and we did it, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it for the Masters. We'd never done a Fallout for the Masters before. And it was really fun. Sort of rapid, like 8 games to talk about, 8 games to predict. But the sort of core of the fallout and where it came from is not like us every single day of the week for 3 weeks. It's a hard old slug for us, that one. But that just Thursday night loveliness after a bit of exhibition action is tremendous. Can't wait.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, we'll get this in, Anthony. Don't worry.
Oh, we've got time. We've still got 45 minutes, Anthony.
Anthony.
Do you know what? This is the problem where Jack drops off with 20 minutes to go and Anthony comes on.
Carry on. You want to talk men in lycra? You fucking carry on.
Anthony's going on for 30 times.
So, night one of the Premier League is at the SEC Arena in Belfast. First of all, are we kind of excited for this year's Premier League for the first couple of weeks at least, or is it just a meh?
Nah, I'm excited. Can't wait. Can't wait. I do think as well, looking at how everybody's playing, looking at how last weekend has gone, that the bracket's all right as well first week. I think we've got, I think it's quite a nice bracket. We've got some good opening round games that could make for some interesting semi-finals and a final. I know some people think it's boring. They don't want to see the same players twice in a night. Claim to be a darts fan, but you don't want to see the world number one play twice in a night. Weird. But I think it's good. I think the bracket looks good for the night. I can't wait for it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that we don't want to see the same players play twice in a night. I've got no objection to seeing Luke Humphries win a mini bracket. It's the fact that then play the same player 6 times in the next 7 weeks. Like that's the issue with this format. Like mini tournaments like this over one night isn't an issue. The fact there's 17 of them with the same 8 players is the issue. Because matchups are guaranteed like 4 or 5 times at that rate. As a minimum.
I genuinely think we're going to see this year a real mix-up in semi-finalists and finals. And I think we're going to see a lot more different finals than we saw last year. I think it's a right matchup this year. Because I think everyone's form is so in and out. And even the Lukes, whilst they have got this unbelievable ceiling, like beautiful darts that we see from them, they can be got. And if they're not at it, and sometimes they're not, they will get beat by a Bunting or an unformed Gerwin Price or a Michael Van Gerwen who's at 90% if someone else isn't on their game. And I just think, I think it's going to be twisting and turning. I don't think we're going to see this sort of top bottom of the league separation. I think it's going to be tight top to bottom this year.
Sam, I've started your tweet. We'll come back to that because we will talk about that.
I think the top 2 boys run away with it, Luke and Luke. And I actually think Bunting's got a great shout of being that 3rd man. I think 4th might be a little bit contested if Van Gerwen gets his act together, etc. And I think the other boys struggle. I think it's pretty clear cut this year. Yes, there will be the odd week where Price does go and make a final, or Dobie goes on a bit of a run and produces a 100 average and a 95 average or something. But for me, Luke, and right now Stephen Bunting's a standout 3rd within the tournament. Like I said, I'm not overly looking forward to 17 weeks of it. I think there needs to be a change up, jeopardy or something. But
is it not evidence? Is it not evidence that this could be quite open? That you've just picked 3 players that you think are going to dominate this event a month and a half out of the Worlds, and the Worlds finalist isn't in that 3. Like, is that, do you know what I mean? Is it, I genuinely think it's properly open. I think it could get a right matchup every week.
The thing with that run to the world final with Van Gerwen, it was a little not unexpected, but it opened up a bit for him. And yes, he is quality. Yes, he's won what he has won. But I never really felt like he was going to win it. Ever.
I never thought he was going to win it, but I thought apart from 3 shit visits, I thought he played well in the Masters. Three visits to the board cost him in the match. Other than that, I thought he played beautifully against Dimitri. The final set on the 82, when he's gone 25, and God, you'll know this as well because we've all done it, that dart at the 17, he's almost thrown it, because he's throwing well, he's thrown it too well and hit the treble. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've all done it, where you're in that much of a rhythm, you're throwing well, he's thrown the perfect dart and he's hit the treble 17, which left him double 3, which ultimately is I'm doing in that leg. And then his setup was shit in the final leg as well. But other than 3 visits to the board, I actually thought he played really well and I liked what I saw.
It's better, isn't it? But it's not all conquering, dominating Van Gerwen. He used to be
not all conquering
in the Premier League because he was consistently, week in, week out, better than everybody else. But he isn't that guy anymore. Look at his run of titles. They're just not there anymore. Like, it's not bashing MVG, it's realism. Van Gerwen, 3-4 years ago, was firmly in the contention as greatest player of all time. If anybody still puts him above Phil Taylor, we need to have a serious word with you.
Yeah, fair. Yeah,
because the first time he's had a chance at dipping and dropping off, it's taken him 4 years to recover and he's still not back. He is unbelievable. And in his prime, there is a chance that nobody matches that level. But his prime was not long enough to be over that, to be in that debate anymore for me.
But it depends on what... Right.
There are certain situations where it doesn't boil down to World Championships. And yes, you can account for some of Phil's being in an era where it wasn't as competitive. But for longevity and sheer dominance, Van Gerwen will not match it. And people are still...
Longevity, and I'm not arguing that, but if you're asking me if they are all at their very best, who would win? I think Van Gerwen beats Taylor. If you put Taylor at his very best and Van Gerwen at his very best, who do I think wins? For me, Van Gerwen.
But they played when Van Gerwen was at his very best and in his prime, and Phil's coming towards the end of his career. And the only tournament that Van Gerwen has a better head-to-head in is the Premier League. The World Championship, the match play, the Grand Prix, literally everywhere else that they met, Phil Taylor, towards the back end of his career, when he's prattling around with equipment because he's signed a massive manufacturing deal and he's chucking Corey Cadby's towel around stage because he's completely lost the plot and God knows what else, Phil Taylor was still getting the better of Van Gerwen everywhere but the Premier League. And even that was close. It's not like 10, 15 wins ahead. They are very close in that category.
The thing with Van Gerwen, if you want to have a really, really good visual representation of his career, you can do it by going to, if you go to the tournament record on Wikipedia, and it's genuinely, it acts as a because it's color coded, it almost acts like a graph, and you can sort of see over time these big blocks of colors where they're predominantly one color. And you see this spell from like 2007 to 2012, where the whole block is predominantly blue as he's going out in first round, second rounds, etc. And then from 2013-14 through to 2018, it's green. It is a green block because green is the color when you've won something. And you can literally see it is literally like a color graph, and you see it go from blue to green, and then it goes from green into this sort of like beigey, purpley, bluey mashup where there's just lots of sort of quarterfinal here, second round here, made a final here. There is very, very little green. There's bits of green here and there. 2022 was good. There was a bit, but in terms of, if you look at that, and it's quite a nice color-coded block, you can see this like blue area, this fat green spell, and then after that it got a bit random, and that almost sums up his career visually. You can see what his career has been. He was amazing, but it was for an intense period of time that wasn't.
That's what I say. If you're talking longevity, and then Taylor, totally, I'm not arguing that in terms of longevity and everything like that. But I think if you had both at their best, I think Van Gerwen wins. It's the same as the Messi and Ronaldo debate.
It's not, because there's a clear winner in that as well.
Yeah, Ronaldo.
No, you're an idiot. How can you be so wrong about so much?
Right, I mean,
but back to...
I mean, it's again, like a normal thing. You two will argue about those two, and I'll say it's neither of them.
To be fair, we could do the football.
Messi and Ronaldo, and no one's even fucking mentioned Jacob Murphy. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous program. What you're on?
Just the equivalent of saying
just
Richie
out of
Adams
interest.
is the greatest art player of all time.
Just out of interest, I know we're a football show. I know we're a dart show, but who would your top 5 footballers of all time be?
Shearer, Gascoigne, Waddle, Beardsley, Ginola. Easy. Next. Don't ask me for a top 10.
Who would yours be, Gob, out of interest?
I can tell you the worst 5 to play for Liverpool, but I can't tell you my favourite 5 of all time.
No, not Liverpool. I mean, in general.
Yeah, I know.
That's what I was doing.
Because, again, controversially, I don't have Pele in mine.
It's all about
Maradona.
The difficulty with Pele is it's all about context. And Pele in the game, and at the time, if you take him as a player in football as it was as a sport between sort of, 66 and 78, then he was the greatest player in the world. Would he have had the talent to even be close to that level in the 80s? I'm not sure. But it's all about context.
Pele in the 80s going, oh, look at me scoring goals in training against 12-year-olds is the same as Ronaldo scoring against fucking farmers in Saudi. Oh, look at him, he's scoring goals when he's 30, going to turn 40 next year.
That video with Neville Southall when Michael Owen's
going, well done, he's 12.
Well done, he's 12, Michael.
Just before we go, mine would be Maradona, Ronaldo, Messi, Ronaldinho, Zidane.
Do you not feel morally unable to put Maradona in just as an Englishman? Objectively, I can't put him in. Me and Anna once went. We were in Naples once in a sports shop, and they were obviously he's big over there. He's Maradona, and they had wax. They had wax statues of him, but they were amateurish at best. I'll WhatsApp you the pictures because they are some of the most terrifying things. You'd swear blind it was a Halloween display. I want to dig the photographs out of these Maradona. I've got a photo of Anna next to these Maradona waxworks, and they are horrifying.
So anyway, back to Belfast. Let's go through the quarterfinals then. Dobie against Price. There's no point asking Dan this one because we know who he thinks wins this one. Just what scoreline you going?
Well, it's best of 11, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
6-0.
Sake.
No. That's silly. 6-1. Chris Dobie.
Go.
Price 6-3.
Ooh.
Price 6-4. Bunting against Cross.
Bunting!
Yeah, I'm inclined to not go Bunting mentally and go. I don't think it'll be. I don't think it'll be easy. 6-4 Bunting.
6-5 Cross.
Oh, nice.
Repeat of the world final, Littler against MVG.
I
6-2,
think
Luke.
6 what?
2.
Oh, I would tight. 6-5. Luke. 6-5 Luke. I think it's really tight.
6-4 Luke. And then the final quarterfinal, Aspinall against Humphries. Do you want me to kick this one off?
Yeah, go on.
6-3 Luke.
6-4 Luke.
I'll just have to try and work out which one of you I agree with. Because it's one or the other. I'll agree with Phil. 6-3, I think. 6-3 Luke.
So, finalists and winner of night one in Belfast. Who will beat who in the final?
Luke Humphries will be beaten by Stephen Bunting in the final.
Gob?
Littler beats Bunting.
Humphries beats Price.
Not sure that can happen. He's out in the first round.
Chat room, what are you saying? Who wins in Belfast night one of the PDC Premier League? Cool, I'm looking forward to it because Premier League Monday, Tuesday, straight back into Pro Tour action.
Do you know, it's dead funny, innit? So I was peeled behind the curtain a little bit for team online darts, but obviously there's lots of little jobs that we have to do. It's busy covering darts, and it was my job this month to knock up the rota for the team as to who was covering what. And it was only when I did that last week that I realised just how much darts there is this month. And I was like, on either end of the month, if you're happy to drop a day either side into the before and after month, you've got 2 big TV tournaments, but then you've got like 4 Players Championship events, 4 Women's Tour events, 4 Dev Tour, Challenge Tour. One of the others got 4 events. World Seniors is coming up. It's like it's a stacked month, February. Really stacked with darts. Loads going on.
It's when you put the calendar into a diary and look at it, it's even worse.
It is. It's like I said, I did that rota and I was putting like dates at the top, and I seem to almost be going through the month, and I was like, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. It just seemed to be like filling every day in the month up with something that was going on in darts. It's stacked this month.
Oh yeah, 100%. Peter Wright was using the all black darts, which I can imagine, God, for a referee must be a nightmare.
Yeah. Simply.
There used to be a rule back in the day. I think they've got rid of it now, obviously, but you couldn't have black points.
No, the black, silver, or gold these days, all 3 of them.
That's what I mean. But back in the day, there was one.
You're supposed to be
wearing
wearing
a Super Series this week.
black
He's throwing really thin points, and they're a nightmare to see as well.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be wearing black trousers. I don't think Peter Wright is a big respecter of the colour rules.
No, they changed the rule to tailored trousers.
What does that mean? Phil's having to make them. You didn't even know he had a sewing machine.
Yeah, it was changed to tailored so they could wear colours because Wadey used to wear grey a lot back in the day as well, didn't he?
With brown shoes. I quite like that look. And
he wore navy with those maroon shoes as well for a while, didn't he?
Yeah. So yeah, it was changed to tailored. Speaking of that, World Seniors action at the weekend, Gob, you were there on hand, making sure it all ran smoothly. Thoughts on the 3 qualifiers? I'm not going to lie, with my unbiased opinion, one of them I am fucking buzzing for.
yes, we are.
I thought it was 2 of them, to be fair, Bazzy, because you're pretty good friends with Graham Usher, who won the first one. Beating James Richardson, and I feel for James Richardson. You know, he did a lot of the tour, a lot of the chasing, gets all the way to the final. Do you know he played 5 last leg deciders on Saturday alone in best of 11s? Like, this is his run in event 1. It is ridiculous.
That's filthy.
Why is it not loading? Richardson.
Blame the
Did he
tournament.
play the last 64? Or was he won the Pedro by? I think he won early in the last 64 anyway. Last 32, James Richardson beat Steve West 6-5. Last 16, James Richardson beat Scott Mitchell 6-5. Quarterfinals, James Richardson beat Richie Burnett 6-5.
Oh, that is a
Semi-finals, he beat Paul Rowley 6-5, and then he got all the way to the final and just ran out of steam against Graham Usher.
Oh, that is, yeah, you've got to feel a little bit. Yeah. You've got to feel a bit for James as well. And he's been there as well. You know, he was there in York, wasn't he? You know, to not be at that event is a real shame because he's a good addition to any seniors event. Is James? That is a shame.
So yeah, Usher winning the first one against James. Qualifier number 2, Richie Burnett beating Steve Hines 6-4 in the final. Really good final to watch. I won Steve Hines 4-1 up. Just started to think about it a little. I think Richie winning 5 on the spin. Those tons to open just started to become 45s and 60s, etc., and just allowed the game, or Richie, to get back into the game, shall I say. David Cameron missing out in that semi-final 6-5, by the way, missing match darts to beat Steve Hine. He travelled all over for the weekend once again just to try and qualify. Been a real big supporter of the tour the last couple of years. And then in the final one, Mike Huntley going all the way 6-1. Been to the last 2 World Championships now. Lost to Keith Della and Lisa Ashton off the top of my head in the last 2 appearances. But the first thing he said was, I'll be ready for this one. I know what to expect. It won't happen again. Threw some lovely stuff throughout the day. 180 hitting was lovely as well. The final of the 3rd event was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Of the 7 legs, 6 of them, the first 6, were all won second dart in hand at the dart of the double. It was only the final leg where it was first dart, and there was 5 mismatched darts within that leg as well. I thought every leg was going to be win second leg of the visit, which I thought would have been some sort of record maybe, but I haven't looked into it. But yeah, really good weekend. The 3 qualifiers will now play. Usher will play Richard Rowlands, which is a real clash of styles. Usher loves to get on with it. I think Richard's advantage in that one is the pace and that he will control that completely. Didn't have the best time at the Super Series last week, but again, I've had some chats with him, refocused, ready to go for the Tavern, reset some goals and that sort of thing. The second one won by Richie will be Kevin Painter. What a game that could be, just in terms
there is nobody who if you've bought a ticket for that already, and let's be like, if you buy a ticket, and it's a bit like loads of darts events, you buy your ticket and you don't know what you're going to see, like until the draw's done or the qualification or whatever. If you've got your ticket for that session and all of a sudden you see that that's what you're going to watch, you have got to that's like a golden ticket all of a sudden. Like, the fact that like Richie Burnett is such an amazing watch, and you lot are all spoiled because like you get to he doesn't come to the northeast of England. Why would he? There's no darts played up here. We don't even have a qualifier for the UK Open, do we? So why would he come up here? But like there aren't many opportunities now for people to see Richie play live unless you live in the south of England. And or you are like me, prepared to make the pilgrimage to the Circus Tavern. But I do think there were some people holding tickets that saw Richie qualify in that spot and thought, "Oh, that's my value for money there in that qualifier."
And then Mike will take on Kevin Edwards, Essex boy, qualified for his first TV title, won a number of floor events in the Super Series in the past as well. I'm reliably informed there is a coach of at least 50 heading from Essex or their local neck of the woods to the Circus Tavern supporting him. One of the players that made it all the way to the semi-finals, Michael Wiles, basically they've known each other for a long, long time, play out the same sort of venues, etc. Would have been interesting if that had been who had got through the qualifier, because all of those people that have paid for the coach to go and see Kev might suddenly have swayed allegiance if they're closer with Michael. But yeah, 3 really good winners, 3 good finals in that as well. And they're your qualifiers.
To be fair, look, you touched on it. I'm buzzing for Graham Usher. I really am. One of the nicest guys in darts. And for me, look, if he can come through the pace issues against Rowlands, he can go on and win it. A real big danger.
He's got that game. He can do it, yeah. It's going to be really hard, though. We've seen Richard Rowlands play incredibly well and win games that people didn't give him a chance to win. And
against Thornton and Blackpool last year was superb.
And we've seen him move through tournaments, and he's not done it as a one-off. We've seen him do it several times. We saw it in Sunderland recently that he can beat people he's not expected to beat, and he can move his way through. So it's not going to be easy for Graham. I think it's a great game. I'm looking forward to that as one of the picks of the opening round.
Rich quickly winner at the Super Series in the last few months as well. Let's not forget Usher coming the other way. Look, coming off the PDC tour at that level, but perhaps not as used to winning right now.
Full credit to whoever did the draw, I think.
But also, Graham did win a UK Open qualifier as well. So he is in good nick coming off the tour. To win 2 qualifiers in a couple of weeks shows your game's in a good spot.
Yes.
Cheers, Dave. Thank you very much. He says, nice show. I'm ready to kick off the week. Look, I'm excited. We will preview the Seniors World Championship next week the week after on the show.
After next, yeah.
Yeah. So don't worry about that. One of the other points I put down before we open up question time today was, what have we learnt ahead of the new season over the last couple of weeks?
I've learned very little, mate, if I'm honest. I said that.
Not that we didn't know.
I don't know. What should we have learned, Phil?
Not that we didn't know in November. I think the same players that need a big start to the year still need a big start to the year. I think the same players you expect to be there or thereabouts are there or thereabouts. We're a little bit more aware of Michael Smith's injury. I'm not sure how much of a factor he's going to play in the next 6 to 9 months at the very top level. We're a little bit more aware of Nathan Aspinall's injury. Spent some more time in hospital with that recently. That'll be interesting to watch over these 17 weeks. That might be one where I'd be looking at it. We didn't mention this on the Premier League, but actually, maybe 17 weeks of travelling around on that isn't the best thing for Nathan Aspinall.
It's not that it's been blown out of all proportion, so it's not an injury. He had an infection in it. It was some antibiotics, and it cleared it up. The newspapers blew it out of all proportion.
Standard.
Perhaps, but it's still there. It's still got the potential to blow up at any point more than anybody else in that Premier League.
I think it'll be fine. I'm not injury concerned for Aspinall. But no, look, I'm looking forward to it. I'm interested to see whether Bo takes her call up to the Pro Tour next week. We should get the entry list probably Wednesday or Thursday.
Surely finance alone would suggest it was a good decision. To do like it. If you get through your opening game, you're picking up money, and you're picking up decent money if you get through a couple of games. And with the draw, the draw is, and the players that are there, the people she's likely to bump into.
100. I hope she does. I'd be buzzed if she does.
I think it's a no-brainer. Like I don't know, unless you've got something, prohibitively stopping you from going. I don't know why you wouldn't, given that opportunity. If you are based in the UK, able to travel there, I don't know why you wouldn't. If you are that good, playing that well.
It's also good practice ahead of the UK Open. Didn't see any of it this weekend because obviously we were at the Masters, but the Dutch Open was on. Again, I didn't see any of it, so I can't really go into it.
What I saw was the result of the finals.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Didn't see any of it, but I saw a couple of posts. Didn't seem to be well supported from people travelling from the UK this year. Was the general consensus compared to normal?
Well,
I believe though, look, we had seniors qualifier on for that. You've had the World Masters where players that are slightly out of it would have been in the UK earlier in the week anyway. We've learned, I think there was a pretty big event up in the north somewhere around York area this weekend as an open of some sort. So
there are only so many darts fans that are willing to travel to see anything. And when you are so we just said a few minutes ago about how stacked this month alone is. And I'll be brutally honest, I haven't factored anything other than PDC events and World Seniors into that. There's loads of other stuff going on. But just that alone, this is a stacked month. And if you're travelling around and you're a darts watcher, you are potentially trying to get to Milton Keynes and to Minehead in the same month.
Well, I was watching about players that normally travel to it as well.
Perhaps it was also a county weekend, and actually of the WDF circuit, if that's what you're chasing, it's the most difficult to win. Yes, is it goal ranked?
Yeah.
Does it get you straight? It does. You've got to go 13 games in that and prat around in the pairs and God knows else what. And there are far more efficient tournaments to target.
Oh, I'm not saying there's not. Right. We're going to address the elephant in the room. Stephen Bunting's tweet. Now, I fully appreciate that it was for a sponsor and everything like that. So he's obviously got his obligations to do for sponsors. No issue with that at all. However, with alcohol being such a taboo subject, it wasn't the best, was it?
It's not taboo in our
insinuating that.
The only issue I had,
not in your.
The only issue I had with it, I probably come on a slightly different view. Let's be brutally honest, between the three of us, one of us is teetotal and one of us is quite anti-alcohol as a public-fronted marketing tool within darts. And I'm on the other end of all the spectrums. However, the only thing that, and it was the first thing that I've got no problem whatsoever with darts being affiliated with alcohol brands. For fuck's sake, go to the darts and you will find that there's lots and lots and lots of alcohol there. And you will find that, when you go to the Etihad, they have got an agreement with a particular brand of lager that lager is paying for. And it's fucking all over the place in the fan zone and everything else. And you can go all over professional sport and find alcohol deals. And people aren't saying, oh, that's what all the players are drinking in the dressing room before the match. Right? That's because that would be fucking ridiculous. They've just done a commercial deal to promote their product to people who go and watch that sport and like to have a drink while they do so, which we're all entitled to do. A man has a God-given right to drink. You just not want to get drunk and rowdy. However, the only issue I have with Stephen Bunting's product placement was that there was a slight bit of wording in there.
That's my issue with it as well. I'm just loading it up here.
Having a drink of any sort or any amount prior
part of
to
my pre-match routine.
Prior to him playing. And that is where me, even as I sit here, like with a Brewdog Wingman in my hand, wondering if it's about time to knock the top off a bottle of Chateauneuf de Pape that sits right by the side of me.
Anybody calls me posh in this chat room again, by the way, I'll knock you the fuck out after that. Carry on.
But I still, but that was a misplaced, and it detracts, it frustrates me because I've got nothing against the placement of alcohol within the darts environment aimed at fans and people buying it as a promotional tool. It brings more, the Foster's sponsorship brings more money into the game, etc. I don't buy this. I get your view, Gob. I do understand it, but I don't make the correlation between we're cleaning up the image of the sport, and I think that's aimed at exclusively players. And I think, you know, Foster's sponsoring it or someone sponsoring the fan zone, having a designated, like, I think that's more aimed at fans and advertising separately. I think that the Stephen Bunting thing, I just think it was an own goal. I think to put something publicly into that, out there to say, this is alcoholic and I drink it before I compete in this professional sport that I'm allegedly elite at, is a fucking own goal. And
it was the lucky sip that I didn't like as part of the pre-match. That was the bit I didn't like.
I think the PDC have made it fair game, and it's their own fault. Look,
I don't
cleaning up the image for the sport has been great. But I want to pick up, Dan, is that you said, oh, there's alcohol deals associated with the Etihad, but we're not presuming the Premier League players are getting pissed. No, but they have never had an issue with, or an identity issue within the sport of footballers appearing drunk. Darts has, which is why there was a big effort. Whilst they're playing football, you're not expecting. You don't look at Brian in a post-match interview and go, he's had 10 pints, do you? In the 90s, after a game, the players might have had a beer and you see them out, right? But in this modern social media era, like, you are not associating alcohol or the need for alcohol to play well within a game of football. That's completely different. Right, Darts has that issue, had a big effort to clean it up, and the first chance the PDC got to make some coin, they went, right, let's slap some alcohol branding back over all of our stages, which, by the way, was there again this weekend. I have absolutely no issue with the players doing this now, unless the PDC start finding them.
No, start
finding them, because that is hypocrisy of the highest order, and they should get fucked for that.
It's rare that we wholesale disagree. But I'm more than happy to say that I think his tweet was like a massive own goal. Stupid, a ridiculous thing to do. Damaging to the sport, damaging to his brand, damaging to the view of the broader world onto darts and dart players. I think it was a fucking stupid thing to do. But
I disagree.
The
PDC basically went, we're going to sell ourselves for some cash. Bunting's done the same. Go and make your coin, mate, while you're there.
See, whilst I don't
see
no
issue with him being associated as a sponsor.
Him drinking before.
My issue is the wording.
Yeah, I don't, but I don't see a correlation between him drinking before he plays and the fact that whilst I wouldn't wash the car with Foster's, they've got their logo on some PDC stuff to promote it to the people watching it, who are probably all sat with a beer in their hand anyway, and might go, oh, Foster's, I need to wash the car. Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't make the link between, I think he's done something fucking stupid, and I think he should be reprimanded for it. But I don't think that is anywhere connected at all between advertising hoardings at darts for alcohol. I just don't think they cross over in my sphere of thinking.
I disagree. Once the PDC have signed off and gone, yeah, we're going to promote this, fucking let the players do the same.
But I think that's like saying, but is it not the, if I get that you take the niche and say, well, you know, darts has had a problem in the past with how it is viewed. But if you then took a sportsman in another field, whether that be golf or whether that be football or whether it's something else, but let's say a player who has anecdotally and in the press had issues with alcohol, if they'd put a tweet out saying, you know, I'm just having my lucky drink before I go and play the, you know, Belfry, I'll go and play the Open or, you know, whatever. Is that then the fault of golf because, you know, PIMS sponsor the VIP area? I don't think it is. I just think that's a player that's done something that makes him and other players that could be cast in the same light look bad.
I disagree. It's also worth noting, by the way, that alcohol is not on the banned substance list for any registered doping agency or competitive event anywhere.
It's not, but it should be.
It's not. In fact, wasn't it removed?
Oh, no, it's
wasn't
not.
it on the list to start with and then got removed? In terms of like
Possibly.
the IOC banned substance list, if you were going to be an Olympic sport, it used to be banned and now it's not. So in moderation, what they basically turned around and said alcohol is absolutely fine. We should all get pissed and crack on.
Del Boy, this is the office, mate. How are we doing, Helen? I hope you are good. And the two shirts behind me are Dozz's shirt from York TV event last year for the seniors. I think 2018 or 19, Dimitri Van den Bergh shirt. And also, I have got a James Wade match shirt up in the office as well. Back when he liked me.
I can't believe you've not put that one on the camera.
You got a shirt off him in 5 minutes.
You haven't told everyone that you tore it from the back.
Sure, right, go on then. Let's open question time up. Let's get a few questions in.
Better open the Chateau Neuf du Pape, I think.
Keeping an eye on Sky Sports News as well. Obviously, it's deadline day as well. We've got about an hour left.
I tell you what, I won't bother with even checking to see if a deal's been done up at this end of the country.
Oh, you've had one out. Lewis Hall's gone to Juventus on loan.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you don't look at who's going out, do you, really? That's not getting you excited before next weekend, is it? After a crap loss at the weekend, you're not going, oh, great, squad player's gone to Italy.
What did you think of the JDC Super 6 final weekend? Brilliant. I thought it was superb.
Brilliant. And I tell you what, I showed some footage to Anna, who is a secondary school teacher, and it blew her mind, which is very cool. Because some of the checkout, some of the footage, some of the clips that we saw was so impressive. And you have to pinch yourself sometimes that these are children. And if you
12
saw
and 13-year-olds.
And if you saw 12, and if you've got to remember that if you saw a 12 and 13-year-old playing a sport because darts is really easy to find out how well someone's doing because it's just maths. You can look at averages, you can look at percentages of different things. You can see if you saw a 12 and 13-year-old playing that close to the elite level at, golf, at any other sport, it would blow your mind. And there's this huge pack, this group of young folks that's going to come through soon. And it's very impressive.
Yeah. Jack Johnson taking that 151 on that stage was just a joy to watch.
Gorgeous. What a check out that was.
This might be one for you, Gob. You might know. Any signs of Modus being available in Ireland again?
So it's been worded a little differently in the chat room a couple of times. Pluto isn't available in Ireland. It's not a region that Pluto TV operates in, and that suddenly won't change overnight. So don't expect to see it back on Pluto. What is the long-term plan, or even the short-term plan, It is available on the Facebook page at the minute in regions where Pluto TV doesn't exist. You can still watch it, and then games are being uploaded as premieres afterwards. The long term, or the thing that's being worked on in the background, is where Pluto doesn't exist, YouTube will. So you'll still be able to watch it via YouTube, but they're having issues with the geo-blocking of that. So at the minute it's on Facebook, they're working in the background, and as soon as that's fixed, that anywhere where Pluto doesn't exist will return to YouTube.
Got a VPN.
Yeah.
It's weird.
In the we have over. Nice, Anthony. Nice, and like that a lot. As well, for those that were asking, the longer form interviews from last week, being Barry, Matt, and Mace, will be available as an audio only. That's on my list of things to do tomorrow for you all as well. Connor, I have got no idea if they're e-tickets or not, mate, because I can't remember the last time I bought a PDC ticket. So I have no idea.
It's not necessarily a PDC thing, it's a venue thing.
Yeah, it's a venue thing, and sometimes it depends on which ticket selling site that particular venue uses. It's a very varied and murky ground.
Yeah, and God, Maisie's just told you off.
For what now? Oh, she's not old enough for Facebook. Sorry.
Send me a message, John. I'll give you some advice. Send me a message. I might be able to advise you on how to get around the problem.
Yeah. Superb. Everyone, thank you very, very much. It's been an incredible few hours on the live lounge here with you all. Again, this will be available as an audio only as well. Plenty coming up. Premier League gets underway. The seniors coming up as well. Pro Tours return. So if you haven't yet, make sure you drop us a like and subscribe. Everyone, thank you very much for your support. I've been Phil Bars. Jack Garwood and Dan Simpson have kept you company for the last few hours, and we'll see you all very, very soon.